Hezekiah Harris commits to the Tigers.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blacerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are dapping it up with Darrell, Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, and some breaking news. Hezekiah Harris, the very highly rated 4-star, could eventually be a 5-star, 6'5", 230-pound edge rusher / defensive end, commits to the Auburn Tigers. Of course, he is part of the 2026 class. But when you think about, okay, he's already this highly rated. Okay, he's already 6'5", 230, has 2 more seasons of high school football to play. Darrell, Hezekiah Harris is a stud, and there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I'm going to go on record here and say that I think this kid will get a 5th star eventually. He is right there butting up against that. And, you know, we've talked about the edge talent that Auburn could get in this particular class. This is a guy that I think when you mention slash, please, I don't want people to gloss over that. Auburn is doing a really good job in getting a kid like Harris that maybe he can play defensive end, maybe he can move to edge rusher. There's some flexibility there. But I know a lot of that think he is a definite 5-star, even though he's ranked as a 4-star. You look at offer lists that high school near Huntsville and Jemison. I think that this is a really, really good get for Auburn, a name we've heard for a little while. But, man, are they getting some elite defensive prospects.
We've talked about the importance of winning in-state battles. It checks that box. Talking about a guy in Hezekiah Harris who's been visiting Auburn probably since he was a freshman, and he tweets at everybody that he's coming. He's always excited to be on the plains. He's been on commit watch for a long time. It makes sense now that it's happened over the course of Big Cat Weekend, where there's so much energy and so much excitement for the future. Well, guys like Hezekiah Harris, they are the future because they're highly touted players. They're in-state players. They're versatile players, and they're players with tremendous upside. Those are all things that this coaching staff is wanting to accumulate. And when you look at the 2026 class, Darrell, it is going to be filled with guys like Hezekiah Harris, and that should fire Auburn fans up.
I kind of feel like Hezekiah Harris has been on campus a lot, as much as Alvin Henderson, like he asked him for a ride. I said, hey, can I carpool with you? I love that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the kind of kids you really, really want at Auburn because they want to be at Auburn. They ask for multiple visits. They love the environment. I've said this before, where your heart is and where you want to be, you show that with your actions. That's who you want to be around, and that's where you want to be. A kid like that with this high caliber, as far as his talent level is concerned, mixed with, wanting to be at Auburn and having very, very familiar with Auburn. I love what he can do potentially before 2026 rolls around with filling out his frame, getting that 5th star, putting up some monster numbers. You just wait to see who comes a calling. And that Auburn, obviously is good. I feel good about them holding people off, but there's going to be, I think, a lot of other schools coming out of the weeds from a national level to try to flip this kid.
Yeah. Josh Aldridge labeled as a lead recruiter. Probably a guy on the coaching staff we don't talk about enough, but he's obviously been an effective recruiter since he stepped foot on campus. Hugh Freeze has talked him up as such. And he made that transition from being linebackers to more of the edge defenders and defensive ends, and he hasn't missed a beat. I think that's kind of an underrated part of all of this.
It really is because, it's not just recruiting high school kids. He had to go get some defensive linemen in the portal. He had to get an edge rusher in the portal.
Yeah. I assume he was involved with Kieran Crawford from Arkansas State. Sure,
exactly. So you're recruiting not just high school kids. You're the lead recruiter, period, and that means for the portal as well.
Yeah. Okay. So what can Hezekiah Harris do at Auburn? What can he achieve? What does this mean for the class? That's coming up right here on this abbreviated version of Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Darrell, can you imagine getting parts for your car, truck, or SUV anywhere else other than eBay Motors?
You know what it eliminates? When you talk about eliminating a middleman, it also eliminates that markup mark up. When you got somebody else putting your hands on it, they mark that part up. You deal directly with eBay Motors, there's no markup, my friend.
Yeah, the brick and mortars that want to order stuff for you, they act like they're doing you a favor. They're not. It's just money in their pocket. It's a way for them to mark up and get a little profit. Just go to eBay Motors. Go directly to the man. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply, and eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Darrell, when you talk about the 2026 class, we've already discussed the upside of Hezekiah Harris and others that will join him or have already joined him in the class, or I guess guys that he joins in the class. You talk about top 5 potential. You talk about number 1 class in the country potential, where depending on how this weekend goes, Auburn's going to be really close. They're going to be really, really close, or at least be knocking on the door. Hezekiah Harris is part of this group that could be really special for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers.
It's funny how you hear things and you're a little bit, I don't know, there's trauma and you're not used to certain things, and so you're skeptical.
Yeah.
When Hugh Freeze got that 2024 class, I heard people say, "Oh, wait till the 2025 class; it could be top 10." But then I started hearing rumblings, and for me, it just seemed like eternity. 2-3 years down the road, they said the 2026 class could be top 3, top 2. Of course, I was playing that wait and see, and it seemed so far away that I wouldn't even let my mind go there, drift there. But now the reality is, you better be doing that in this day and age. And that's how you get top 3 classes, by getting kids this far out.
Right. Yeah. And also it's a little bit of a proof of concept of, okay, the more time they have to build relationships with these kids, the more traction they're getting on the recruiting trail, which is obviously what you want. As it currently sits in the On3 industry ranking, which includes everything, Hezekiah Harris is the number 2 player in the state, which is impressive in and of itself. But the number 3 edge in the entire class. And we've kind of made jokes over the past week of like, you can't have too many edge rushers. And boy, that is true. But man, when you look at Hezekiah Harris and other guys that Auburn is pursuing and could possibly get in the boat soon, get as many top 5 edge rushers as you possibly can in this class. Oh my goodness, that's exciting to think about.
If you ask defensive coordinators, what's the number 1 attribute that you think makes the defense chaotic and dangerous, what do you want? Of course, they like ball hawks. They like guys in the secondary. But
you want to rush the passer.
You want to rush the passer. That's the premium that you want as a defensive coordinator. You get a defense and a class that has elite pass rushers in it. Everything else after that falls in place. That's the hardest thing to get, and it's the most important thing to get. Because in my opinion, the ball hawking a lot of times comes after quarterbacks rushing, making poor decisions, throwing balls where they're too early, whatever, because feeling that pressure. And then that's when you can get good defensive backs to step up.
No question about it. I mean, follow the money and follow the trends in the NFL. The positions that get drafted early and paid the most money, quarterback, makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tackles to protect the quarterback, and then edge rushers to go and hit the quarterback. I mean, it's as simple. It's as simple as you could possibly get. Sometimes we want to overthink things, but good quarterbacks. Look, I heard it all the time as a Patriots fan. It's like the way to beat Tom Brady is to be able to rush 4. Well, duh. That's how you beat any quarterback.
Right.
And obviously, if you're able to rush 4 and drop 7, that's what Alabama was able to do for such a long time when Nick Saban was there. And it just gives you a huge advantage. And so getting guys like Hezekiah Harris can help you do that. Another note, Hezekiah Harris seems to be really well liked by the football playing community, which I don't think can be overstated, especially when the word culture is thrown out over and over and over again with Hugh Freeze and what he's trying to build. So things like that I don't think can be overlooked here.
It's why you have a kid like Keldrick Falkett brought to SEC Media Days as a sophomore. It's the culture and the character you're seeing in these types of recruiting classes that it's paying off and paying dividends early. When you have that kind of leadership in a kid that's a sophomore, then you look at a kid like Hezekiah Harris and say, I project him as a leader of this defense in a couple years. It's not too soon. Yeah. It's just a different day and age.
Sure. Hezekiah Harris, welcome to Auburn. Of course, a key part of this 2026 class. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Instagram, Darrell Dap, Wednesdays and Fridays with you.
Yeah, and we'll have a bunch of written stuff up about Hezekiah Harris and other things happening throughout Big Cat Weekend. Just head over to auburndaily.com. Like the video, please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.